This tutorial, I'll be talking through something called Kapferer's brand identity Prism. This is a diagrammatic tool, a tool based on a diagram, that is used by graphic designers and agencies to better understand the needs of a company or a brand that they might be working with. The diagram is a hexagon, split into 6 sections. I've coloured it here because it's easier to understand that way, and those 6 sections allow us to look at things in a different way. The diagram acts as a lens. The prism itself acts as a lens through which we can look at other companies, and because of its different facets, we can look at different parts of their brand and their identity. Each facet explores a different part of that company and a different way of understanding it, but they're also grouped together in different ways. The top 2 facets are there to describe and talk about the brand or the company itself, while the bottom 2 talk about their customer base and who their products and services are ideally aimed at. The 3 facets that make up the right-hand side of the diagram talk about internal values, so how people or the brand or company see themselves, and the opposite of that obviously is the 3 on the left-hand side, which represent external factors and the way other people see the brand or people. We're going to take a look at a fairly famous example in a minute and have a go at this, but it's a good idea first of all to try and understand each of these facets on their own. The first one we need to appreciate is Physique. This is the one that we are most familiar with in most cases. Physique is the way a company or a brand shows itself to others. It's its outward appearance, an external appearance. So obviously this covers design because it's the way the company chooses to present itself in terms of shapes, colour, text, type, and everything else that we can control. But there's also an element here of some of the values that the company want to show to others and what ones we can see as the customer. Personality, meanwhile, is still to do with the brand or company, but it's the way that they communicate with others, often also described as the company's voice. Visually, this comes across in the way the design is put together and communicated to others. It's a slightly trickier one to explain or describe, but it is more to do with the values of the company that they hold and what they want to get across to others. And personality is very heavily based then on the company's culture. This is the core internal values that the company or brand has, and it's the values on which a brand bases its behaviour. These may be things that have been important to the brand for a long time, part of its history or heritage, or just things on which it bases its business or has cornered a particular section of a market. On the other hand, there are other factors to consider in terms of values, because the customer itself will have other things that it wants from a company other than just its products. We can all think of people that buy into a particular company because they want to feel a part of that company or they're committed to them, or because they feel that by buying products from that particular brand, they're getting something else as well. This is called the relationship, and it's the external core values. If we take a look at the customer then, there are 2 ways to see them. If we look at the external factors, this is the way other people see the customers of that company and the way that company sees them as well. So this is the way the company sees their ideal customer. Most brands or companies will have a clear description of the kind of person they are marketing their products at overall. They may have a broader market, but there will be a very specific example of the kind of person they want to sell to. On the other hand, they do also need to appreciate how those people see themselves. An understanding of the self-image that customers have of their own values or kind of who they are as a person is very helpful in knowing how to sell to them. So these 6 areas obviously show us very different parts of a company, but hopefully you can see that understanding all of them give us a very thorough idea of a particular brand. And if we are designing for them, understanding all of these areas can help that design to be effective, functional and purposeful. Let's have a little look at one example. So as a tool, the Prism can be used in 2 ways. We can use it first of all very much diagnostically. We can use it to evaluate or analyse another company and their brand to better understand them, and this can link and support our understanding of their graphics and design work. We're going to look at Apple, very well-known company, something we're all very familiar with. If we take a look at Apple's Physique, which is what we're most familiar with, we have a company that thinks and presents itself quite differently to the mainstream. We are very familiar with the use of the Apple logo, which is used to identify them visually. And then generally we see across their design work and their products clean lines, soft edged forms, lots of use of white and glass and silver, and generally fairly clean, accessible interfaces on their products. This is all coming up with repeated ideas of cleanliness and simplicity, and we're going to see why that's so important in a minute. So when we look at their personality, this is the way in which they communicate with others. And if we think about talks by their staff online at shows and conventions, if we think about the advertising, we think about the stores, then we find communication that feels modern, very friendly and approachable, and again, very simple and clear. There's a drive with Apple quite clearly that they want people to be able to access their products whoever they are. Their core values are also relatively easy to identify. This is a company that believes very strongly in change and very, very strongly in empowering people through technology and kind of using technology to forward societal change. It's also a company that has a very strong sense of American culture, a very clearly US-based company that brings a lot of kind of corporate US values into play. Within the US, they're also known quite clearly as a company that has very Californian values specifically, which brings a kind of laid back but modern and forward-thinking approach. Meanwhile, we're also going to be very familiar with this. We know people that buy into Apple products because they are Apple products. They don't just want the product, they want the company. Customers for Apple want something that makes them feel connected, both to the company and more widely. They are generally people that want to be involved with the world around them. They want helpfulness, openness, and they want a very strong sense of modernity. Customers that buy into Apple appreciate the idea of staff called geniuses, the help that's available online, cross-platform technology, and all that kind of very modern, contemporary approach. They are the ideal customer that the company want to aim their products at, but we can see a little bit more when we think about those customers. So the way Apple sees it, customers, they are aiming their product at stylish and successful people. People with a bit of money, who look good, who are well dressed, have good products, who spend money on things that they feel are valuable, and in people that are interested in self-improvement and being connected to the world around them. And that's obviously what their products do. But they also want to know those people better, so they do understand that those customers see themselves as creative, valuable, crucially very important, and have great belief in their own potential. You probably see this in Apple customers. They're people that believe they are important to the world, and that is the core kind of client base for this company. This gives us a really broad understanding of the company, but obviously it goes a long way to explain the appearance of their design work. The clean, modern styling reflects what people want from the company as well as their own core values. The level of expense and polish of the products helps to aim towards the right kind of market and for people that have this sense of self-importance. So it all comes together very well, and the Prism allows us to see all of these factors both individually and together. I said there were two ways it could be used. The first is as that diagnostic tool. The next is to help us build a sense of identity for a company. So if we get rid of the well-known company and try and set up something new, let's take a look at what happens if we try and establish a brand new for a family bakery perhaps, using the Prism itself. In this case, if we start with Physique, we can make some choices. So perhaps this is a company that has strong family origins and a sense of history. So they want to communicate that to others, and they want their outward appearance to show that, as well as strong use of things like ethical packaging to stay with their kind of modern appearance, warm colours to communicate well about the products, and they'll need a logo that communicates that as well. Most of the Physique is what we'll be working with, but it can be based heavily on some of the other areas as well. In terms of personality, if we come back to that kind of idea of family company, they're probably going to want to communicate with others in a very familiar, warm and welcoming way. They want to make others feel like they are part of their family. This will be based on culture. As a family company with some history and heritage, they'll probably have strong family values such as being welcoming and trustworthy that they want to communicate to others. As a bakery, they're also going to believe very strongly in reliability and reliable quality, consistent quality. A bakery needs to produce the same products to the same high standards every single day. So that's going to be a core value that underpins the rest of the work. It can easily be something we involve in design work, therefore. Customers of a bakery like this, well, they're probably going to also want reliability. They're going to want the best quality products if they go into a bakery rather than a supermarket, and that probably means they're also going to want to see a friendly face and a sense of familiarity. This helps us identify the company's ideal customer. Ordinary families that want to feel like they are also part of the bakery's own family, potentially mid to high income families given the nature of the product and the shop, and people who value reliability and want to feel a personal connection to their vendors. And as far as those way those people see themselves, they probably believe they do have a personal connection with those vendors. They know the staff by name, they're very familiar with them, and again, feel like a valued customer, part of the family. Family values are probably important to that customer, and they probably feel that in some way they deserve a better quality of product, and they're willing to treat themselves to that regularly. If we use all this, we've set up a really strong, vivid idea of a particular brand or company. And off the back of this, it's easy to start thinking about the way the graphics will be created and presented. The prevalence of family values and reliability are easily presented through seals and stamps, warm colours, soft edges, photographs of smiling faces and people that we know. We could focus on the employees or the founders of the company in graphic design work, or at least create images that seem to be based on those figures and characters in order to create something more relatable for the customer. But by using the Prism in this way, we've built up a very, very solid foundation of ideas, and all design work, so long as it is in line with these values, should continue to be successful. This is obviously a tool you can go on to use in your own work. On Moodle, you'll find some paper examples, some printable examples of the Prism itself, so that you can carry out your own analyses or build your own brand. Make sure you think about all its aspects and the way they interconnect. If you're going to have a go at this yourself, I recommend starting with things like the physique and the culture. The physique is the outward kind of way that the company portrays themselves, so it's the easiest one to think about in visual terms. The culture, once we've decided what kind of company it is a really good way to set some of the core values that will define all other areas. Good luck and have fun with it.